Welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we are going to do the module on socialist feminism as part of the course on gender and social work. I am Dr. Shivali Kumar, Associate Professor in School of Social Work, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. The topics to be discussed in this particular module are the basic tenets of socialist feminism, women's work, class and oppression, patriarchy and capitalism, patriarchy, capitalism and race, a critique of socialist feminism and a summation of the same. So we begin with the basics of the tenets of socialist feminism. Socialist feminism argued how production and reproduction were linked. The exploitation of male workers under capitalism was based on the ethic of competition and self-interest. Essentially, socialist feminism is located as a criticism of the capitalist mode of production. It borrows many of its tenets from the Marxist understanding of the notion of development. So hence, it looks at who owns the means of production and who actually performs as workers, and the workers are the ones who are oppressed. In this case, socialist feminism goes on to understand the ways in which women are also incorporated in the world of work. This ethic in turn shaped in many ways the family life of the people, the communities and the sexual morality, and if it were to be challenged, it required equality amongst all and emancipation of all. The concept of emancipation was brought forth because it was felt that the ways the capitalist mode of production functioned, it created two classes, that is the bourgeois and the proletariat, and the proletariat were the ones who were oppressed. Also, to ensure that there was a continuous workforce, in many ways the work that women did was marginalized into the households. So as they were marginalized into households and as men became the main workers, the work that women did was in many ways invisibilized. This led to this whole notion of heterosexual and heteronormative relationships, and because that was the only way labor could be produced. So women's roles therefore became more of reproduction rather than productive work. The socialist feminist position thus argued that the meaning of equality is not just limited to economic equality, but equality between sexes, including sexual equality and freedom for what women love to do as they choose to do. So that means also exercising their rights over their body and sexuality was something which the socialist feminism concepts brought in. This equality also extended to freedom from an oppressive family life, freedom from restrictive sexual choices, thereby exercising all forms of sexualities, everyday drudgery as in the housework that needed to be done repetitively and in a monotonous process, and also compulsory motherhood. The choice of not having children was something that was not available to women according to the socialist feminist in the capitalist mode of production, and therefore that needed to be done away, and women needed to be given choice as to whether to have children or not to have children. So these ideas were some of the major dimensions of socialist feminism as it began to grow and develop in the capitalist world. Three major processes and concepts were brought forth by the socialist feminism which were not earlier interrogated or discussed. These are class, work and women's oppression. Marxist and socialist feminisms believe that there is a need to analyze the link between women's work status and women's self-image in order to understand the unique character of women's oppression. That means that women, what they want and how they see themselves in the society, whether they feel that they are highly productive or they are contributing to to the society and to the economy. These are dimensions which need to be understood from the women's point of view. Since Marxist and socialist feminists see women as a collective rather than as individual, it was diametrically opposite to what liberal feminism really talks about. And Marxist conceptions of class and class consciousness play a major role in shaping Marxist and socialist feminist thought. That is, that when Marx spoke of class consciousness, he didn't really think of women's issues, but this was added on to say that women as a class in themselves need to be recognized and understood within the world of economy and household. And that is something new that socialist feminists brought into the forefront. The wages for, that's very important, the wages for housework campaign argues that women's domestic labor or work should be recognized as real and productive work. This is a major framework which socialist and Marxist framework bring into the forefront. The observation that wives and mothers usually work for people at home they love does not mean that cooking, cleaning and childcare are not productive work. So that was brought into the public domain. From a private domain it came into the public domain. There is a little bit of a dilemma when women, when students start engaging with the concepts of socialist feminism, that why should housework be essentially understood as work? Well, that is very important because historically, when the capitalists, traditionally the societies were more of agricultural societies. So even if you go and locate agricultural work within certain remote areas of our own country, you will find that women's status is much higher and their work is recognized as work, because there is a continuum of labor that happens from home to the outside, and men and women largely tend to do similar amount of work in terms of household work, in terms of looking after livestock, in terms of gathering fuel and fodder from outside and selling the produce in the traditional local market. But with the capitalist mode of production which was introduced by industrialization, the workplaces became very defined and structured, and the ways in which enlightenment impacted it was the use of science and technology. So as technology was introduced, men became more adept at using this technology and they became the workforce within these workplaces. Prestige and status was given to these kind of skills in the industrial world, because it was also recognized that unless and until the work is performed by the male workforce, profits won't get generated, and the profits are the ones that were plowed back into further industrial development. So development and industrial development came together, and thereby it was the gradual work that women used to do in a continuum. They lost control over those kind of newer means of production, and it was male control that took over, and women got pushed into the work within the household. No matter that many women who belong to better classes and belong to the bourgeoisie, they were pretty happy about it, and they felt that it was fine to sit at home, hire other women from the working class to do their work, and they would much rather cultivate their minds, read, write and stay within the household dimensions. But nobody ever talked of the oppression that they faced within that class as well. So there was the one class of women who while staying at household faced different forms of violence and different ways in which they were termed as unintelligent, not capable of rational and scientific thinking, and not capable of doing the kind of work that men were doing outside, or being business oriented. That was one kind of marginalization that happened of women's work. On the other, there was this whole lot of marginalization of the work that working women did. Now in both cases, socialist feminism interrogated these sites of oppression and said that women as a class need to be understood very well, and these different locations need to be understood very well, and most of all work that women do is also work. It is not something that needs to be linked to the nature of women or that they are nurturing. It needs to be understood as productive work. So production of labor was also considered to be productive work. So in many ways, again, they question this notion that if women don't have control over their bodies, they cannot decide whether to have children and not to have children. In itself, that means the choice of women is taken away and men are given greater choice outside, and creates therefore the inequalities between men and women. So that was the interesting part that socialist feminism really brought in, and also this continuum of work that needs to be recognized as work is something that socialist feminists started talking about and demanding that they need to be incorporated within the economy of any country. The third dimension that is very critical is the collective mobilization opportunity that socialist feminism framework brings in. That individually maybe women are not able to do much, but when it comes to coming together as a collective, the possibilities of demanding from the powers that are there who are governing the society, then their voices are heard. So ensuring a framework of possibility of collective mobilization and empowerment and solidarity and sisterhood is something that socialist feminism really brought in through their interrogation of class, work and women's oppression. They linked up patriarchy and capitalism together. So socialist feminists actually played a very critical role in ensuring that while Marx talks of class, but adding to class was the notion of patriarchy. Socialist feminist thinkers like Sylvia Wolby, Heidi Hartman, Iris Marion Young have always used terms like patriarchal capitalism or capitalism patriarchy in order to forge the interdependence between capitalism and patriarchy in their work. So in many ways, again, the whole private domain of work that women do, they are constantly interrogating and saying that patriarchy as a system of oppression ensures that that work remains invisible and it's not accounted for in the larger economy of the capitalist mode of production. And therefore it is critical that through engagements with women and collectivizing them, demands should be raised to the state that these kind of work, the work that is done within the household, should be recognized as economic and contributory work to the overall economy. These socialist feminist thinkers treat both class and patriarchy as central categories of analysis in women's oppression, and that is important to remember because that is what socialist feminists are the core concepts that they work with. Since they believe that capitalism and patriarchy are necessarily linked, a sexual division of labor analysis needs to be done at all levels when one is working towards collectivizing women or mobilizing them around their rights. So then it gets complicated further by the socialist feminism to bring in patriarchy with race and capitalism. It is important to remember that even socialist feminism arose at a point of time in the European nation wherein there was quite a bit of discrimination against certain ethnic and racial communities and groups, and women within these community groups and ethnic groups were facing backlash of violence and difficulties which was different from the white women's realities. Therefore, socialist feminism vision rejected the hierarchical leadership ladders and said that there needs to be a participatory democracy which includes all different women within the mobilization processes and also within state policies. However, they also believed and therefore did not link to the specificities of racial and ethnic nuances within their work, but what they said was, when we talk of class oppression, then it is these groups which formulate the most disadvantaged in the society and in the capitalist mode of production. So therefore they said that active participation of such people, especially women within these contexts, need to be incorporated, and this can only be done by mobilizing, collectivizing and getting them together to discuss and create a discourse which kind of questions the hegemonic notions of capitalism. Socialist feminisms believe that capitalism, patriarchy, racism and imperialism are inextricably intertwined and they are inseparable. What is interesting also when we say imperialism, socialist feminists also say that there is this, with the colonial progression that happened, they critique that to say that when capitalist mode of production needs raw material or natural resources, colonies have been created and hegemonies of development have been created, and these also need to be changed and deconstructed, and therefore these four dimensions of the world economy needs to be questioned, and people and women need to be mobilized around all these manifestations of oppression. Consequently, the abolition of any of these systems of domination would require end of all of them. That means that if you do away with capitalism, then you do away with patriarchy, and you also do away with imperialism, because there is no need for the kind of raw resources or natural resources which the capitalist mode of production really demands. The socialist feminist strategy aims at realigning power relations through the process of building a base of power for women through a mass movement united around struggling for their own self-interest. And that is very interesting in terms of the ways in which it goes into a different trajectory as far as liberal feminism is concerned, because socialist feminism brings in the power of the collective, the power of mobilization. Socialist feminism, feminist vision rejected all forms of hierarchical relationship. So as I mentioned earlier, to say that hierarchical division of work created hierarchical division of status among men and women, and therefore created patriarchy, which is a system of oppression of women at different levels, and it also percolated into cultures and communications and the way men and women spoke with each other. So therefore it is significant to understand that on the one hand social feminism talked about patriarchy, and on the other hand they talked of capitalism, but they also started understanding that race has a very different dimension for women. So as I had earlier said, racism operates in a very insidious manner, and it implicates itself both in patriarchy and imperialism. It implicates itself in capitalism as well. For example, if you look at the African Americans in the US, they were brought from Africa as slaves to work in the farmlands of southern states of America. Why? Because there was a lack of labor, and definitely they were not recognized as citizens of the country. So the conditions of work and the subhuman treatment that they received created a different form of discrimination, isolation and marginalization for the women within these racial communities. And the whole notion of being from a different race created stereotypes, discrimination, and the notion that these people are not they are not people who are capable of cultivation of mind, or they should not be allowed to come into the larger domain of systemic change and governance. So in many ways, the imperialistic process of getting slaves from Africa and getting resources from Africa created racial discrimination to a great degree, and led finally to the Civil War and cry for freedom in the US. So socialist feminism believe that these are all enmeshed together, they cannot be separated. So if there is an African American woman, she would much rather would be found working more as a household help rather than being part of a management cadre or being part of a business house. She would be denied education in different ways, and the discrimination that she would face would also ensure that she drops out of education despite the affirmative action and norms that the Constitution of US guarantees. So therefore in itself the capitalist mode of production makes sure that marginalized people stay in the margins, because there is a need for labor which which is unquestioning and which can be kept at a certain level so that profit can be generated by the business that is required. So enmeshing of capitalism, patriarchy, racism and imperialism all come together and they are almost inseparable. In that case, what means that any abolition of patriarchy should lead to the abolition of all of them. They cannot be separated from each other. So that means if socialist feminists mobilize women, they have to mobilize women from all race, ethnic and other marginalized groups, and at the same time they all need to come together. So create a sisterhood and a mobilization base, a powerful base to overthrow the larger macro structure of patriarchy and capitalism. So adding on to what Marx talked about capitalism and capitalist mode of production and change, socialist feminism felt that patriarchy too needs to be countered, race too needs to be countered, and imperialistic fascist processes also need to be countered by mobilizing women around these concepts and frameworks. There is a critique of socialist feminism which we need to also understand. Whilst socialist feminism talks generally of mass mobilization of women, also talks about the ways in which colonialism and imperialism has impacted women in colonial societies and countries and nations, and it also talks about mobilization across the world order. However, there are several limitations within the whole notion of socialist feminism, and we need to understand that because at this point of time in the world economy, we find that socialist feminisms are really getting marginalized because they are not able to counter the ways in which neoliberalism and globalization is impacting the world order. So the critique of socialist feminism essentially talks about its emphasis on democracy. So on the one hand it talks of class struggle and women as a class, but at the same time it talks about democracy. It has argued, which is essentially a more of a capitalist construction. It has argued that women's voices are unheard not only in liberal politics but also in traditional Marxist organization. But then in itself it's contradictory that on the one hand the Marxist organizations are not being impacted by the ideas of socialist feminism, and on the other hand women's voices are not being heard as a collective in liberal feminist politics as well, or even in liberal politics. So how does one actually reconcile the two? There are no answers concretely coming from socialist feminists, and there are no genuine ways in which a different diverse democratic practice may be instituted. The only alternative seems the continuation of the state. So if it is state, then in that case how does the democracy work, and how does it ensure the welfare of all citizens and also welfare of all women at an equal footing? Socialist feminism frameworks do not really give very clear answers on this. Socialist feminist call for democratization of procreation is often conflictual to what is called as women's rights to their own bodies. While talking about women's rights over bodies, it's very important to understand that all women may not want to not have children. They may want to practice motherhood. So the choices that women can exercise is something that socialist feminists have really not taken into account. And also the fact that many women may prefer to be part of household work, and yet want status and recognition due to it would be another differential dimension. There will be heteronormative women, and there will be other kinds of sexualities that exist alongside. What choice are they given through the socialist feminist understanding is something that has not been discussed or interrogated deeply in the socialist feminist arguments, and therefore then the frameworks become a little limiting, but perhaps there is an opportunity to expand on it further, which may be done by other feminists. While in the contemporary society we say that procreation is a personal matter, and in most cases that is true, because even women themselves say it is my own business and I can decide whether I want to go ahead and marry, or I want to go ahead and have a partner, or I can go ahead and have children, as defined by liberal feminists. But at the same time, socialist feminists have not been able to reconcile to this, nor have they clearly stated what democratization should happen of procreation, which would be translated into practice and which would be translated into mobilization of women around such ideas. So in that sense, there is this very strong critique of socialist feminism, which has been there for some time. But at the same time, I think the socialist feminists are also reinventing themselves, as are the liberal feminists. While socialist feminists strongly criticize centralized forms of political organization, for that matter a state which governs the entire society, nation or people, saying that these organizations replicate sexual and other divisions in the larger society, and they have come up with alternatives of smaller networks, smaller organizations and short-lived groups, but they have not come up with an alternative to the state or any kind of differential ways of governance which can take care of people within a particular bounded nation state. In that case, there is always a risk of having a tyranny of structuralness, where everybody does what they feel like, and in that case the whole premise of socialist feminism can get countered or can be at risk in itself. So in many it is important for socialist feminists to look beyond the present ways of looking at the capitalist mode of production, and I think that is something is the need of the hour, and they need to take it forward to bring in the newer ways of governance, the newer ways of ways the capitalist mode of production is functioning in a globalized and liberal world. So in summation, as far as socialist feminism is concerned, this module has tried to introduce and explain the concept of socialist feminism, and it is not complete in itself, because there have been newer writings and newer discourses around it, and it has moved beyond the traditional ways of looking at the world. It has traced the history of the emergence and development of socialist feminism, how it emerged, how it was responsive to the capitalist mode of production and borrowed from the Marxian notion of dialectical materialism and brought in women's question within it. It is important to note in this particular module, it is not complete. It has to be further expanded, researched and read in depth. It also shows how socialist concept developed in response to the large scale inequities that were perpetuated by industrial capitalism. The birth of any theory or theorization comes from the situations that exist for people within different nation states and different societies, and that is how socialist feminism really emerged. It looked at liberal feminism and found that it was lacking in answers to those conditions and came up with a newer dimension using the Marxian framework. So that is the next step ahead, and perhaps not in the logical sequence, but that's the way they have tried to answer the inequities perpetuated by industrial capitalism. As a result of these structural and gender inequalities, many socialist feminists argue that the state of affairs had to be changed to make the lives of women better, and that is something that's critical as a framework that socialist feminism has brought in. That change is possible and structural change is possible. That is, that class relations can change. So if women are a class within all its diversities, there is possibility of change. In that case, this gets further interrogated in the notion of agency of women, recognizing that women are capable of changing when they come together rather than as individuals. That's the core idea of socialist feminism. They also argue how production and reproduction could be linked and introduce the demand for wages for housework. even today we have a lot of discourse on how unpaid work of the women are hidden, invisible, and needs to be accounted for in the economics of a country and in the GDP of a country, and we continue to do that, and that's a contribution that socialist feminism have given to the feminist world, and a possible framework where on the one hand we are able to mobilize and give opportunities to women from marginalized sections as well as from low class sections to come together and demand for equal wages and better work conditions. On the other, we are also demanding that all the housework that women do, all the reproductive work that women do, they need to be recognized, accounted for, and should be considered in many ways paid and remunerated work within the economy of a country. So that is a contribution that socialist feminism have done, and that needs to be recognized. In understanding socialist feminism, because this is not complete as a real understanding, it's good to look at some of the references which we can utilize to further our knowledge. We have V. Geeta, who has written on patriarchy, and there are numerous understandings of these theoretical frameworks in this thin book, very useful. Then Rosemary Tong again talks about different theoretical frameworks which include socialist feminism, and very nicely written, so you can use that as a reference point. You can look at Heidi Hartman and Alison Jagger's original work as well in understanding socialist feminism and how it emerged and how it continues to develop further. You can also look at Maria Meek's work on patriarchy of accumulation as an interesting piece of work where she looks at how work was conceptualized in earlier days and how it got invisible, and women were pushed into the housework, and their work was unpaid and unaccounted for. Thank you.